Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today's video I am bringing you is basically a continuation of the Porsche week, continuation of the 911 reviews, and this is the Porsche 911 GT3 RS, the 991 model from 2016. This is basically the latest, I guess, road going 911 we currently have in Gran Turismo 7. So this will kind of be the end of it, but not necessarily. I will be featuring another version of the 911. So if you want to pick this one up for yourself, it's 253,000 credits from the Porsche dealer. Decent price really for the kind of performance you're going to get from this thing. I'll kind of go into more detail about how it handles, how it feels as we go out through the review. So yeah, I mean, not too bad of a price point really. I cannot really complain. There's worse cars for more credits in this game, so pretty cheap starting point in comparison to some others. So we're going to get onto the lap here at the Nürburgring, the Nordschleife layout. So for those of you that don't know how we do this kind of thing, basically we'll get the standard stock road version with no mods, no tunes, give it an absolute fast as hell hot lap around the Nordschleife, basically test out how the car is straight out of the box. So, you know, handling, acceleration, all that good stuff. Then we'll basically modify it as much as possible. I try not to tune them if the car is utterly uncontrollable. I'll mainly just try and like balance out the rear end, because that's mainly the issue with the modified versions of cars. And then we'll basically give it a hot lap around the high speed ring in its fully modified form, and we'll see where it appears on our modified car leaderboard. So out of the box, in terms of sort of the way this car handles, it's typical Porsche handling, but with a lot more in terms of grip. So you'll find that the snappiness is still kind of there, but it's definitely not as sort of obvious as kind of the older models. So again, it just kind of feels like the Porsche 911 models are just getting more and more civilized to the point where they've basically become full-blown sort of race cars for the road, and that's definitely how I'd kind of say this car feels. It's kind of succeeded in what it, you know, what it wants to do, which is essentially just be a full-blown race car available to, you know, buy out of a dealer. So like I said, it definitely sort of achieves what it wants to do. It wants to be kind of a race car for the road, and you can definitely tell in terms of sort of responsiveness, in terms of handling. It's much more responsive than any of the other models. Like, you know, we had the 996 GT3, and while that was probably very kind of advanced for its time and very quick, this just feels like, you know, 10 times that. Like, it's just so responsive, it's so quick, the acceleration is just instantly there. You know, the kind of top speeds you're going to be hitting down the back straight is just incredible in comparison to any of the other models. There's just kind of no Porsche as good as this one in terms of, you know, that raw kind of racing feel, in terms of, you know, the way it handles and the way it kind of goes. And while I'm not kind of a huge fan of the way it looks, I'm kind of the person that I'd sort of pick a classic Porsche over a modern one. I do feel like in terms of the way it looks and just kind of the profile it gives off is definitely a step up from any of the other kind of modern Porsches after sort of the 993 models before it. So yeah, definitely sort of my choice for a more modern Porsche. Personally, you know, the new ones they're kind of pumping out now look even better, so it's a shame they're kind of not in Gran Turismo 7 currently, but this will basically do in terms of modern Porsche design and modern Porsche kind of performance. It's definitely what you kind of want, and it's pretty crazy to see, you know, Porsche go from something like a really kind of brutal sports car back in the day, which, you know, to today's standard it does feel really sort of tame, you know, the 930 in comparison to some of the cars we do have in GT7, to basically this, the 991 GT3 RS is just, it's nuts. Like, there's no kind of, I guess, lack in performance, there's no kind of complaints about the aero. Like, it looks really kind of out there and in your face, but it's all functional. It's just kind of crazy to see the 911 evolve. Obviously this will be the final road car, so basically seeing the majority of the evolutions and kind of where it was like sort of a, you know, a turbocharged I guess, sports car to then more of the laid back NA cars that were just a handful to basically get around a corner, to this thing which is just a full blown race car from Porsche, you know, full modern design, full modern dress in terms of the way it looks. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it, and it still kind of retains that epic Porsche 911 sound, so no complaints in the sound design. So have a listen to this. So in terms of its, you know, its sound design, it's definitely the most aggressive sounding one. It really does sound absolutely amazing, even when you're driving it. Some cars sound really good in replays, but then when you're driving them, they sound really kind of mute and a bit dull and boring. There's none of that there. For me, the highlight of the car is its responsiveness, and I feel like this is where Porsche's really kind of gone into supercar territory. Like, you know, there's no way this car wouldn't kind of keep up with, you know, the likes of Lamborghinis, Ferraris at this point. I'm obviously not the hypercar versions, but the more kind of supercar versions, and it's just, like I said, kind of crazy to see it go from, you know, some insane classic sports car to this, you know, supercar killer, you know. And I guess that's where the kind of comparison to the GTR comes in, is these cars were originally kind of like sports cars, but these, you know, really souped up versions are just there to take down anything really, in terms of sort of the potential on a track. So yeah, it's pretty awesome to see the evolution of the 911 and see it kind of basically come full circle to retaining its kind of crown as like one of the ultimate sports supercar killers. It's always been powerful, and, you know, tail happy and pretty insane in terms of its pace. So yeah, it's definitely kind of cool to round it out with, you know, an absolutely awesome model. Like I said, it's a shame that we haven't got the most up-to-date models of the 911, but this will basically do. Like I said, no complaints in any area really. It is definitely a lot of bang for your buck. So I mean, where you could be putting, you know, a bit extra out for like a Lambo and such, I'd say if you want a pure driving racing kind of feel from a road car, then look no further than this, you know, the final 911 that we have here. Now I hope one day we do kind of get more versions of the 911. I know a lot of people kind of get sick of Porsches. Basically they say they all look the same, they all sound the same, they all do the same thing, but I kind of feel like I would have been in that kind of camp up until, you know, doing these reviews, when I kind of, I guess, dove into the history more on the Porsche 911, and, you know, having that big nostalgia hit with the 996, and, you know, in-game kind of experiencing the evolution of the 911. It's kind of really made me appreciate, you know, why this car has just been around for as long as it really has, and I hope we kind of see it continue for many more years to come. I do feel like one day, obviously, they'll have to go all electric with it, and I hope they can still find a way to, I guess, retain that classic 911 feel, the responsiveness, the noise, the you know, the feel of the car. So yeah, in terms of the 911, I hope it doesn't sort of get killed off as, you know, electric sports cars and supercars kind of come into play. I hope they find a way to basically keep this going. I mean, Porsche, very good at basically electric cars. They've kind of proven that with some other models. So I hope the 911 sort of, you know, does go that way. So in terms of onboard and, you know, a place to be, this is definitely the best one in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong, the 930 is still an absolute classic looking interior. However, when it comes to sort of high tech, high performance, this is definitely what you wanted, and I feel like to finish it off exactly what I'd expect from a, you know, a modern Porsche model inside is just absolutely awesome. So really good to kind of be inside and even use the onboard cameras. No complaints there. I mean, all the dials look awesome. You know, the steering wheel, definitely a step up from a lot of steering wheels that we've seen on these 911s. If you've kind of noticed, there's quite a few of them that I've not been a massive fan of, but this does feel like a really, you know, quite awesome wheel to basically look at. Decent viewpoints, you know, you're not going to have any struggle looking where you're going. I really do kind of like the sort of orange accents to the interior. So interior's top quality. So overall time, we did a 7 minutes 23.248. So that is a huge step up from where we started with sort of the 930 from standard all the way to this, the 991 GT3 RS. So pretty awesome to see sort of that evolution of performance and power really kind of, you know, showing itself over what, like 50 years worth of cars now. So this car falls in the 600 pp category along with the 997, which you can see there in 12th. So from the 997 in 2009 to this one in 2016, we've had an improvement of quite a bit. So we've gone from a 737.797 to a 723.248, beating the likes of the Suzuki VGT, Ferrari F430, and the, you know, the original sort of Dodge Viper coupe. So what was I saying about the modern looks? Well, I had to go and do it, didn't I, really? Basically, this livery gives you basically the feeling of having the most up-to-date kind of 911s in the game in Gran Turismo. So it's really awesome to see quite a few of these, really, in the game. So yeah, definitely an enjoyable livery to look at. Really kind of gives you that feel that, yes, we haven't got it in the game, but it's kind of in there somehow. So it's almost like driving and looking at a brand new car. So yeah, let's see how it does around the high speed ring. So the reason I chose the high speed ring for modified vehicles is the main thing you're kind of looking for is that increase in basically acceleration and top speed, and it's basically the best place to go for it. As you can see, the car is an absolute handful. However, I did actually find that the responsiveness and kind of the way it was in stock form kind of really transferred itself over to the you know, the fully modified version. So it was putting out some absolutely insane speeds. I believe at that point we'd broken the record that I believe the 930 set way back when, and obviously the previous one. So I think it was hitting around about nearly 210 miles an hour going into that braking zone. So the top speed is definitely there in terms of handling. With it being a bit of a handful, it was still very, very responsive, so that helped it get through these kind of little tricky medium speed corners. And obviously you've got the insane acceleration from this car as it powers itself all the way up to probably the most awkward point of the track. I really am not a fan of this banked corner. It can throw me off quite a few times. Luckily we're going to get through it pretty well this time, and we're going to power our way all the way down to the finish line and across the line. So with that being done, the high speed ring ultimate lap of the 911s is done, and let's see where this car really does come. So strangely enough, it's still slower than that Z Performance 2023, however only just by a bit. It's over a second faster than the previous 911, so it's really awesome to basically see that this car is definitely a step up even with its upgrades on, and it's worthy of putting out, you know, the horsepower it does, the handling it's got. It's definitely a worthy contender for, you know, modified cars. So that is it. That is all the basically road going versions of the 911 done. I mean, I hope you enjoyed this. I basically enjoyed looking into the history of one of the most important sports cars, supercars, whatever you want to call it, going. It really did kind of open my eyes to a car that I kind of brushed off, and it's really awesome to see so much kind of history in one basically model of car. And I can see why a lot of people really do have these high standards for 911s, and going forward I'm definitely going to look at these in a completely different light. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support, and obviously a big shout out to our current channel member Ticket Bait. So feel free to, you know, donate to the channel, links are in the description, or feel free to become a channel member yourself. Thank you so much for the support recently. I'll see you all on the next one. Cheers guys, peace.